it caused such a tidal wave it would destroy all life on Earth, right? So I mean, you can imagine if some whopper of a meteor ended up hitting the Earth. I mean, yeah, it could destroy the whole freaking planet. But I believe God's quite capable of acting with pinpoint accuracy when it comes down to taking down the evildoers, and that's what's coming. Is that he's going to take these people out slowly but surely as we reach the end of an age. That's what we're all feeling. It's just like it's darkest before the dawn. I think that's a great analogy to look at where we are at this point in history of human civilization, is that it's darkest before the dawn. That's I got to remember that myself, because you know what? I mean, my faith gets shaken regularly, believe me. That I think God is just, what's going on? Is he ineffectual? Is he feckless, a paper tiger? I mean, when's he going to mete out justice? He's going to give us a sign that's going to show these evildoers who's boss, and it's something the mainstream media can't run away from, and just show, hey, you know what? These are signs from above, man. There is a God. There is, more powerful entities out there than human beings, and they're going to take over this planet because we're reaching the end of the age, and they're going to throw all you evildoers where you belong, in Hades, man. He's going to separate the wicked from the righteous. That's it. It's as simple as that. The good fish from the bad fish. The weeds from the cultivars. Okay, use any analogy you want. That's what's going to take place. And then the new age comes. It's this 1,000 years of peace on earth and prosperity and freedom, when, joy is, that's our reality. Okay, contentment. All good things, all those good things we all want. That's what the new age is all, it's going to usher in. And we got to get ready for it in our hearts and minds, and ready, understand how different it's going to be from this current paradigm. This is screwed up, man. I mean, it's all about the money. Remember, this is like a false god that's been ruling our lives for millennia. So of course we're all screwed up. How can we not be screwed up? We're screwed up alone organically from the original sin and the fall of man and the curse that befell us, this knowledge of good and evil. So we are already screwed up. But when we've had to contend with Satan running the show all these thousands of years, okay, of course we're all screwed up. It is so, like I said, I don't know how any of us cope with the scene, man. It's crazy that we've all just capitulated to this idea, understand, oh, you need money. Duh, of course, it's logical, it's reasonable. Accept it as logic and reason, and just say there's no escaping it, so you got to get comfortable. You got to get used to it. You got to fit in. You got to comply. You got to acquiesce. You got to conform, right, to the current monetary-based reality, because that's practical. That shows you have common sense, that you're pragmatic, right? I get it. I get it, believe me. I'm just still telling you, you need to get prepared for an entirely different paradigm. This is the only way you're going to be saved, is if your heart is pure and clean. You want God's will to be established on earth. And if it means that money's not going to exist because it's a false god, it has just led people away to do horrific things to each other over the millennia. Okay, and today's the terrible things are going to be done because of people are desperate for money, because they love money more than they love their fellow human being. I mean, it's going to happen today. It's just a fact. So, you know what? You got to be willing to get the hell away from that stuff, as far as the East is from the West, man. And this is the only thing that's fair. If you were a good parent and you had a bunch of kids and they just couldn't get along, you would separate those that felt one way about something, okay, in the right way, and you knew as a parent that they wanted the moral, ethical way, the thing that was fair. They wanted to be the rule of the household, and then you had these other kids that were rascals, and they just wanted a perpetual debacle, a perpetual fiasco, and problems, because they get more attention for whatever profit they get, which could just be attention, right? So, what are you going to do as a good parent? This is exactly what God plans on doing. It makes perfect sense. So this is where the salvation thing comes in, why it's so tricky, why your heart really has to be perfectly pure. And if you miss that mark in just a little way, you've got to say, God, examine my heart. Am I really ready to lay it all down and say, let your will be established on earth? No more money, because it is that love thereof is the root of all evil, not some. It was the root of some of the evil. He would have said so. People can say, look at all the crimes of passion out there. Somehow money, okay, fits into it. The devil, and through the money, is always in the details. Okay, always. We may not be able to see it. We may not ever see it. But if you look long and hard enough, you'll see how there is an association. Okay, like a woman that leaves her husband, doesn't cite any reason, just says, well, irreconcilable difference. I just don't like him. I mean, you don't have to give any reason. Nowadays, it just, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But basically, her husband didn't make enough money. There you go. She was ashamed that she was the primary breadwinner, or she was a gold digger. Okay. But whatever the case may be, you understand what drives people to think and speak and behave the way they do. It's often revolves around money. I'm not going to talk about stuff I've already talked about, because I have here in my notes my talking points, current events, recent events, a lot of different stuff. But David Knight, he had a heart attack recently, and so I hope that he heals up. Apparently he is. He's got some stents. Now my advice is you've got to get adequate exercise. Watch your diet, man. Don't think it's folklore. Okay, believe it. It's true. Apple cider vinegar, man. Take care of your heart, man. Stay away from the beef, the meat, that kind of stuff, man. Turn into a pescatarian. Just make fish your primary meat. And do fruits and vegetables. You got to rebuild the cells of your body. And clean it out, man. And that heart, because I can eat as much butter, literally. Dr. What's his name? Joel Wallach says, he makes a joke. He says that we've all heard it said an apple a day keeps a doctor away. Well, he says a cube of butter a day keeps a doctor away. And I'm a big proponent of Joel Wallach. I believe it. My dad, he understood the same stuff, that good fat is good, but bad fat is bad. And butter is a good fat. You can eat as much as you want. I mean, a man can eat, like Joel Wallach says, a dozen eggs a day, and it'd be great. You'd probably never have diabetes. And the yolk is the healthiest part. It's got lecithin in it. So this is something my dad also knew and I was taught about. So, it eats bad cholesterol. Lecithin does. It will keep your heart clean. So that's what eggs do, the yolk of the egg. Don't want egg white. That's the opposite of eating good eggs, okay? No, you want the yolks. That's my advice, okay? And, there's other things you can do. Of course, the cod liver oil, I'm a big proponent of that. I'm a big proponent of charcoal, activated charcoal for detoxing. Some people will say cilantro, good. Some people will say turmeric, good. I don't do those. I mean, I will sometimes, but not much. But, you don't have to do much. Oil of oregano, a big believer in oil of oregano. Okay, externally and internally, it's good to keep the candida down. If you got an issue with loose stools, it could be just the candida built up. Okay, if you're getting sufficient bulk and roughage in your diet, then look into that. If you've got Crohn's or something, irritable bowel. Okay, but I tell you what, I mean, I'm a big believer in oil of oregano. Okay, it's a very medicinal food. Lemons, just fresh lemons. I mean, cherries for gout, for the kidneys, cherry juice. There's just so many good things out there. Cayenne pepper, and all these foods also are very alkaline. And the reason is that they're so healthful at being alkaline, have an alkaline effect, at least in our body. You think of citrus and acid in lemons, but in our bodies, it has an alkaline effect because we have an acid diet. So our pH, our potential hydrogen, is skewed toward the direction of us being acidic. And so it brings on one kind of disease after another. So if you could just turn your system into being balanced from acidic, then you see what can happen. All the diseases start going away. It may not be immediate. It might take years and years. I contracted big toe gout in 2009, and I still feel it. You can still see the damage on my toe. Literally, my big toe exploded. It split between the toenail and the toe. And it's a horrendous disease. It's an arthritic condition that starts with a kidney malfunction because they're producing more, your body is producing more uric acid than your kidneys can handle, so your kidneys dump it in your bloodstream, and it turns into these crystals when it gets cold, and it settles in the extremities, which is, in this case, the big toe gets the coldest. So that's why it ends up in one or both of your big toes for men. And it's a horrific disease, but its effects never go away. It's a permanent arthritic condition because there's damage. You've really damaged your cells in your body. So, but I'm still working on it. You don't give up. I'm also struggling with peripheral artery disease, and that's likely mostly been brought on by my habit of smoking cigarettes. So, if you're going to do something that you know is unhealthy, you've got to have some semblance of control over it. Understand you do it not to get sick.